Wisdom in Nature and Art. So great to see you here today. And we're excited to have you. And thanks for taking the time out. So I hope your new year, new 2026 is being good to you. So, and I want to welcome back one of my amazing guests here, Emmanuel Illuminardi. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. Reverend Emmanuel.
So I'm so excited to have you back here. And since a lot of people are new, we're going to start with you telling us a little bit where you're coming from today and a little bit about you, your backstory here.
Okay, well, at present, I reside in Boulder, Colorado, and I use my voice and energy to help people heal and transition into their integrity. I work solely through referral at the moment, actually, for the last 15 years, and I have clients all over the world. I've assisted people stage 3 and 4 cancer free, 115 people to date. 7 people know osteoporosis, Hashimoto's, lupus, lots of other things. And mostly what I do is I find the things that cause people to become out of balance and help them to transition out of those patterns and into their integrity and, God willing, their health. I've been doing what I do my entire life. I've only been doing it for the last 15 years for my living.
So, okay. And where did you grow up?
I grew up in Redondo Beach, California, in
So that's a
Wilmington.
long ways away.
It is, and I truly miss the ocean.
Well, the sound of the waves, did that inspire you for part of it?
Some of it mostly the ocean is very cleansing and it helps take all the negative energy we pick up. So I spent a lot of time in the ocean as a child just to keep the chaos off of me.
So you went to school in Rwanda too?
I went to Banning High School in Wilmington and primarily in Wilmington.
So are you from a large family, a small family?
I have 5 siblings.
So do they do what you do?
No, I'm the only one in my family that does this. I think it came from my father's side. I've been wide awake and doing this again since I was a kid. I used to fix all the neighborhood animals when I was little.
So can you give us an example or a story about that? So
Well,
how you helped
my
those animals or pets?
my hands get really hot and I just start to push energy and my gift is very much like the character in the movie The Green Mile, where I will absorb the pain and then my body will process it out. With people, if the trauma they're holding is very strong, I'll get pictures. Um, if they're alcohol related, often my room will smell of the alcohol when they let go.
Wow.
And you know, it's always different. It depends on how you hold the trauma and how much you're holding on to the past. So a lot of those emotions we store in our body, and they form knots and blockages of our energy fields. And
Right.
in my experience, 90% of our illnesses come from our guts. So
And I've heard that a lot. I mean, it explains a lot. You just referencing even the Green Mile. Because that
yeah,
was that was an amazing movie, and actually, I wouldn't mind watching it again here because it's there's so much power in that. So being able to help people or healing, but like you said, it's exhausting at the same time.
it can be the movie, the character, when he lets go, there's flies or energy that comes out of his mouth. When I let go, I throw up mucus or I burn up with a fever for a few hours. And if I pulled the cancer, there's blood in the mucus. And there'll be anywhere from light threads to really thick, dark clumps of blood. And I think the most I've ever spit up is a cup and a half of blood.
Oh, wow.
But
So,
the people are cancer free, so I know when
which
the
is
blood comes out,
amazing.
that the cancer comes out.
It's amazing how God uses you to do those kind of things. So did you start in high school? were you just like the normal high school kid, or were you the kid that was like helping people?
No, I was always the outcast. People tend to leave me alone, and my energy is, for most people, very intense. And I didn't actually use my gift to heal until later in life, other than animals and old people. I used to, when I was a kid, I wasn't allowed to play with children. So I spent a lot of time with elderly people, and I would take away their arthritis and their aches and pains so that they would share their life with me. I got a tremendous amount of my education about life in that way.
Wow.
And throughout my life, when I was younger, I used to read people for business people and tell them what the other people were doing, and until I realized that that wasn't okay, and I stopped. I haven't read anybody without permission since I was 24. And if I get to look in your eyes, there isn't anything you can hide from me. So I'm very, very
Very
good.
sensitive.
Yes. Um, and up until I started doing this for my living, off and on throughout my life, when I needed to help somebody, my hands would get really hot and I would be drawn to them. So a lot of the early people that I helped was because God pushed them into my life.
So I totally get that. So I was just checking our feed and seeing if there was any questions here going on. So, because everything works for a reason. But it's kind of like sometimes when I go into a store or different things, I've had people come up to me and just I'm just standing there and they just let out their whole life story.
Yes, because you're open and available and they know they're safe.
It's like, yeah, because they know I'm there to just to listen. Because sometimes healing is just for a person is just having somebody else listen to them.
That's right. The ability to let go and feel safe, and you're able to hold space for them.
So, no, I wish you lived closer so I could meet you in person. If anybody has any questions, be sure to ask. And so we do appreciate the questions here. So, I mean, I understand when people are intense, you feel like you're an outcast, and it's just because you have a gift that nobody else has. And so it's hard for people to understand, at times, but I think it's an awesome and amazing gift. And sometimes it's like if people would just let themselves learn.
That would be nice. I think the biggest issue is that I see people, and a lot of people don't really want to be seen. They like the image that they project to be seen, but not their true selves.
Very
So,
true.
and I've had people, and I've asked them why they are offended or what did I do, and the answer is always, I can't hide from you. So, you know,
And so
it's
in other
true.
words, they don't like being just themselves. They don't want people to know everything about themselves. But
No,
sometimes you have to let things go in order to heal.
that's absolutely correct. You have to let everything go. So
So
many people live in the past and what happened in the wounds and all of that other stuff, and it's gone. There's no reason to allow that kind of power, but so many of us linger in it and allow our the rest of our lives to be guided by the pains we're holding on to.
right.
Um,
And I've noticed that a lot. A lot of times people live in their past and they just talk about it all the time. Or they talk about the news or somebody else instead of about what they're doing, working on themselves.
that's true. Even in our daily lives, a lot of people forget that we're all connected and that a lot of our moods are because of the environment we're in or the people we're around. I helped a gentleman when I first moved to Colorado. He and his wife were having issues. Turns out he owns a gym and he does private training. And I had to explain to him the reason he goes home angry every night is because these people are lifting weights. They're letting all that energy out and he's absorbing it. And then he's coming home and acting out all of that anger that doesn't belong to him because he absorbed everything the people were letting go of during the day. So after he became aware of that, he would clear himself and ground himself and get rid of all that energy before he got home, and it changed his relationship tremendously. And a lot of us are in jobs where we absorb other people's anger and then we act it out when we leave work.
And that probably explains a little bit because have some friends that are teachers and stuff. And they said, the kids come to class just really disruptive and a lot of it is because of social media and stuff. But I think a lot, what you just said is they probably have a lot tensed up from their home environment.
Absolutely. A lot of childhood illnesses are because the children are absorbing their parents' stuff
So,
and
yeah.
their insecurities and diminishing of their spirit. A lot of that comes from their home environment and what they feel.
Yeah, I can see that now. So, what was the changing point? When did you decide this was the way? Because you did other things before, probably out of school. Did you go to college?
I went to college, I went to ASU, and I've been self employed most of my life. I've never had a job. And I've had a lot of different businesses. My last business, I was developing 1,400 homes. And when the market went, we lost everything. And um, I went out and I prayed and I asked God for help. And somebody I'd helped 10 years prior with cancer called me and said, I have two friends with cancer. Will you help them? And I said, sure. And then I
That
went
was
and
an answer.
yeah, and I cussed God for 2 hours because I never wanted to do this for my living.
You
And
know, that's
I've
amazing.
been doing this ever since the last 15 years. I've worked solely through referral and I have clients all over the world.
And that's a blessing to so many. A lot of people don't even realize that it exists and it's out there. They've never even heard of therapy. I think it's amazing, and it's definitely, like you said, when you pray to God and God answers your prayer within 24 hours, it sounds like. So,
Usually,
and
yeah,
that's amazing. And you live on a farm, right?
yes, I have a little 5 acre farm. We have two cows, five pigs, and 35 chickens.
That's a lot of
So
chicken.
it nothing
I
better
have
than
11
farm fresh
chickens, so
eggs.
I get it.
Yeah. And the way you feed your chickens makes a big difference on the quality of the eggs you get. And we have very rich eggs. My kid chickens are very spoiled.
Mine are too. Like I was telling somebody, it's like my chickens are like pets. They love to be petted.
Yeah, they like attention. They like to. I have a rooster that likes to sit on my shoulder, and
I
they
can see that. Yeah, what's funny is our rooster, our granddaughter had raised it when it was a baby, would swing with it and hold it. And he was the nicest rooster. And then all of his offspring were extremely nice too. Where you hear these horror stories about people having roosters that chase them or attack them. I'm like, we've never had that problem.
that's because they pick up the person's energy. And if the person's afraid, the chicken's going to be afraid and attack. If the person isn't loving, the chicken isn't going to be loving, as with any animal. I have never had a dog, no matter how vicious it was, attack me. They always, they see who you are, they feel your energy, and they act accordingly.
Right.
As with people, they do the same thing. They, subconsciously, they'll pick up somebody's energy, and they'll either embrace them or stay away from them. And unconsciously, they don't really know why, but they know that it doesn't feel right for them.
Right. It's kind of
And
like
then
one of the tricks I learned when I was working with mental patients, or I've dealt with gangs and stuff, was never to show fear.
they can smell it.
They can.
And
And people don't realize it.
no, a lot of criminals, they choose their victims because the person that they choose is carrying that kind of energy, the victim energy. And if you stay in your power and you don't allow that in, they will avoid you.
Right. So what kind of challenges do you come up, do you face in any of this? I know that's kind of a weird question, but everybody has different challenges daily and
For me, the only real challenge is getting past people's walls and learning their language. Even though we all speak the same language, we all have different perceptions on different words, tone sensitivities, the way we're willing to receive. So my daily challenge is how to get this person to receive what it is I have to say or the energy I give them, whether there's resistance. A large part of it is just really getting past people's walls. Some people, they're overly nice, and nice is one of the biggest things that makes people sick because they deny themselves in order to please other people when inside they don't really want to. So that causes a lot of people to be sick. So when I have people that are nice, it's getting them to understand that being nice is the detriment to their health. So I have to push their buttons in order to get them in a place where they want to resist. And then I can show them this is where you're holding it. Or a lot of times people will want to start to take care of me, and I can feel what they're doing. And I can point out, you see what you're doing? Your chest is tight, your tummy's tight, your jaw's tight. And they start to recognize the patterns that cause them to be not functioning properly.
yeah,
And I make
I can see that. It's like I mean, I've had to learn to say no the hard way. I've gone through times where I was trying so hard to be so kind, but it's like you said, it's from experiences in the past, you
and
know?
for a lot of people, they learned it in the womb because their mother was that way. And I learned what I do in the womb because my mother was a certain way and her mother was abusive. And while she was pregnant, I got hit in the head. Well, it brought me conscious. And my mother was into musicians, so she would go to band practice, and sound would make us feel better. And coming through the womb and the liquid, sound is different. So the way I use sound is different than traditional sound healing. Traditional sound healing works through relaxation. What I do is I force your energy to raise. So it's slightly different than traditional sound healing. I don't focus on relaxation. I focus when something isn't moving. If you surround it with a higher vibration, eventually it'll assimilate into the higher vibration and start to function the way it's supposed to. So I tend to bring up and put people through detoxes a lot because all of that stuff they're holding starts to release. So I'm on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Oh,
And
wow.
I occasionally get woken up at 2, 3 in the morning because somebody's going through a hard detox. And I encourage my clients, if they're going through it, to call me because it's easier to get you through it while you're in it than to have to restart it again and put us both through the unnecessary trauma.
Right. So on your sound therapy, can you give us kind of an idea what you do with when do you use different sounds, correct? Also, or
Yes. So I just kind of close my eyes and I feel where the person is, and the chance I don't have any control over it, it just comes through. And I can get up to 8 audible tones at once, which I'm told from my producer friends is not supposed to be possible. But it forces what you're holding in your body to start to move. Sometimes it puts you into a deep relaxation, and other times it puts you into emotional outlets and letting go of things that you're holding.
right,
And once I start that, it's all channeled. I have no control over how long it goes. I mean, the longest I've been is 2.5 hours. And I promise you, I tried to stop. It just kept coming. And other times it'll stop after 5 minutes because that's all the person needed to get the energy to move. So my sessions are never the same. I never know what's going to happen. It's one of the reasons I don't market, because there's no way to explain really what I do. I have a young lady that I helped in England. She had a tumor the size of a baseball. It's been gone 5 years, but she tells everybody that I'm her mantra healer. That's the only way she explains what I do. He sings me mantras. So,
That, and that's awesome. I love the fact that you're healing and helping people. There's like so many people I know who could use your help, you know. So of course we're going to be linking everything here for people to reach out to you if they feel that's right. And I totally, so when you're not healing others, do you listen to certain musics or no noise?
I go out and I listen to the birds and I spend time being present in nature. I have never purchased any music at all. The music that they sell us is not in a natural frequency. So for me, it's like listening to a chalkboard when you scrape a chalkboard. It's off.
Interesting.
So I would prefer to listen to somebody live, because you get the true vibration and frequencies. But recorded music doesn't do that. It actually helps suppress a lot of the energy that we're holding.
So, and I've noticed just like, especially if I'm working on an art piece, right? Or sorry, I have to either be outside working on it or have my windows open listening, or I have to I do listen to music more. It's calming.
Uh-huh.
It's like if my husband has the news on, say, and I can hear it, oh my gosh, that just like irritates. Or hard rock has
Hmm.
always, like you said, has just like all of a sudden, I just feel the stress and the tension in my body.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
it's different, and it's and then there's times that I'll listen to something else more upbeat because that's what I'm doing at the moment, exercising or something. But my favorite is just listening, like you said, out in nature, the birds, the squirrels, water.
well,
Water is like huge. Or
water water is very calming, and birds allow our primal instincts to relax. When birds are singing, we know we're safe. Our primal instincts know we're safe. If there are no birds singing, we get more tense, because our primal instincts are something's wrong, we're not safe.
right.
Birds don't sing when they're not safe. But if the environment is safe, you'll hear the birds all the time. That's very relaxing. It allows you to integrate and be present.
Right. It's like the one time I don't know if I had told you this story, is I was outside doing the final touches, painting on an easel, and this little yellow finch songbird flew down and landed on the corner of my easel while I was painting and sang. It, and I just
Beautiful,
felt
isn't it?
so blessed. I mean, I was like tears, because it was like I couldn't believe that, you know, I've had some really incredible experiences like that where I realize it doesn't happen to everybody, but to me, it's amazing and it's a blessing. Or I've had hummingbirds, right there in front of me, or land on me, or chipmunks come and sit next to me. It's like, because you're just, like you said, calm.
You're calm and you're safe, and they can feel your heart. So it's a really good acknowledgement as to where your heart resides.
Plus, it's healing for me. To me, it's
Yes.
like God's way of saying, I see you.
I have animals follow me all the time. We lived in the redwoods for a couple of years, and I had a mountain lion that would come and sit 20, 30 feet from me while I chanted, almost 2, 3 times a week. So I have birds all the time. I have bobcats that come and they'll sit close while I chant, and a lot of wildlife follows me.
That's cool. Now, you have two daughters, is that correct?
I have 2 daughters and a son. My
Okay.
youngest just turned 4, and my oldest is 14.
Awesome. Now, do they have any of the gifts that you have?
They do, yes. My They read people extremely well. My oldest daughter, when she was little, used to If she wanted to play with you and you didn't feel good, she'd take all your pain away. So she doesn't do that as much anymore, but when she was little, she did. And my youngest is just very opinionated. And if she doesn't like your energy, she'll stay away. And if you keep persisting, she'll turn around and say, "No, you're not a good person."
Oh, wow.
So, she hasn't had learned discernment yet to
But
tell them they're not well.
that's awesome because a lot of times that's what people need actually to be more aware of who they're around, their surroundings, and how they listen and
They
treat
are,
people.
but we condition ourselves to create denials for people
Yeah,
instead
excuse
of,
me. And you know what? I am guilty of that. I create excuses. Well, they probably went through this or they did this, but it doesn't give them the right to treat people like crud all the time,
no,
you
it
know?
doesn't. And again, making those denials is part of the things that makes us sick because we're lying to ourselves.
Right. You're
And
absolutely correct.
it's more important to look at somebody and know who they truly are. And if you can accept that person for who they are, then mazel tov, life is great. And if you can't, you keep them out of your life. If somebody's a thief, they're going to be a thief no matter what. But if you delude yourself into believing they're not going to steal from you, when they finally do, you have all this trauma. How could they? But you knew they were a thief or a liar or whatever they are.
Very, very true.
I had a friend when I was in my 30s that was a kleptomaniac. And when I wanted to give him a gift, I would buy it and I would leave it in a certain place in my house. And then when he would come and visit, when it was gone, I would be grateful because I was able to give him the gift that he wouldn't have accepted otherwise.
That's so funny.
So,
Yeah.
but I never let him in a place where he could hurt himself by taking something I didn't want him to take.
Right. Yes, it's best. I like to know people that are on it. Most of my friends are always honest up front, tell me what they think. Because when you can just be yourself and you don't have to watch every single word you speak.
It makes a huge difference. Honesty is the best policy with yourself more than anything. And if you can't be honest with yourself, you can't be honest with anybody else.
No,
Just like love, if you can't love yourself, you can't really love anybody else. You
no,
can pretend, but it's not real. And people know they inherently feel that. And it creates a separation and a wall. Even
you're
though they don't acknowledge it, it still creates that wall.
right. And it's hard for some that has gone through past where in their childhood growing up, like they were abused, they were told how ugly or how horrible they were all the time, you know, and they'll be doing great. And then all of a sudden something will trigger it and bring it back, at times. I've seen it. So,
Yes, they run the tape. And at some point, you have to cut the tape and stop living in the past.
right.
And that's a lot of what I do as I help everybody let go of those tapes so that they can be present.
Basically, stop being the victim.
Yeah,
Because I always tell people, stop being the victim. It's up to
great
you
to
to
give a
change
fuck.
it. So, the question I have, so what would be a great, good morning ritual for people to do, in your opinion, to help start their day in a positive way?
Since I was a little kid, I have a meditation that I do every morning when I wake up. It's a breathing exercise, and I go through each part of my body and I tell it to relax. And I pay attention to the places that need to be stretched. If there's knots, I'll rub the knots out. And then when I'm all done, I'll take inventory so I know how I feel. And when I go out and I start interacting with people and I get different aches and pains, I can go back to where I started and remember who I am and separate everybody else's energy. We forget that we're connected and we feel everything. One of the things I do when I take people on field trips, we go to Costco or Walmart on a Saturday morning because that's the most toxic place you can walk into.
Right.
And I get to show them how they're taking somebody's energy or how they're pushing it away or what energy they're attracted to keep them locked up. So a lot of us keep certain relationships to keep us in a place that we feel comfortable being rather than being able to grow. So
Yeah, I avoid
self-awareness.
Costco on those times. So
Yeah,
I go the
it's
last hour of the day because there's hardly anybody there.
yes,
Because then I
and
can just be relaxed and
and not be toxic.
right. It's
So
it's amazing. Yeah. There's I hide out, I am at my place a lot because I just love being because you I feel so at home, so at peace because I'm surrounded by trees, I'm surrounded by wildlife. It's quiet.
and a simple thing to remember is when you're in those places you're not feeling good, pay attention to your energy. If something is throbbing, if it's pushing outward, that's yours. If it's pushing inward, that's not yours. Somebody's attached and you're taking on someone else's energy and they're
Very
taking your life force. That's a really simple thing to pay attention when you're not feeling good. If what's throbbing, which way is it going? If it's
huh,
going outward, your body's trying to let go of the toxins that are picked up. If it's pushing inward, someone's feeding on your life force.
what a golden nugget tip. Thank
And
you.
that actually responsible for a lot of people's illnesses. There are people that are conscious vampires and they know they're taking your energy. And those people will always tell you how wonderful they feel around you, how good they are, how much you listen to them. Yeah, what they're saying is, I love feeding on you. And then there are people that do it unconsciously because they're just drained and they need some energy. So they don't know they're doing it. And if you have a conscious vampire and you cut the cord within 24 hours, they're going to need to see you
Wow. So
because they want to reattach.
oh, and I'm visualizing everything. So
Yeah. And unfortunately, a lot of those people tend to be family members or really close friends.
I
And
I get that.
one of the things that I have some of my clients do is go through a list. They write everybody's name down that they interact with, draw a line down on one side, everything they do for those people, on the other side, what those people do in return. And they get to see how out of balance their life is and their relationships are. And it helps weed out the people that are just there to take and not give anything back. There has to be balance, even if there's just a genuine, I really appreciate you.
Right. The one
Because
thing I notice is, Emmanuel, is you really listen. And I think that's like one of the most important things is people don't always take the time to listen. And I'm guilty of it at times too. Is when we listen, we learn so much more.
correct. And when we're having arguments, a lot of times you'll feel energy swirling around the top of your head. Well, when you feel that energy, nothing is going to become accomplished because nobody's receiving anything. You're just stuck in chaos, having to be right, and nobody's hearing anything. So when you feel that energy swirl, it's best just to disengage from the conversation, wait till you're both grounded, and then try to have a conversation again.
I've walked
And
away from a lot of conversations because of that feeling.
I had a relationship in my 20s and we were arguing about something and she kept telling me I wasn't listening and I kept telling her I heard every word you said. Well, when I was able to calm down, I realized I wasn't listening. And I went through all of our conversations where I wasn't listening. And then I came back and I apologized and we addressed those issues that were never resolved. And it really taught me to pay attention to how people receive. And again, some people are tone sensitive, and if you hit their tone, they're going to instantly go into fear and not hear anything or acquiesce their power and allow you to take advantage of them.
Right. And tone is so, we've had several coaches on speech coaches talk about tone, how important it is. People don't realize that. And you might be saying it thinking there's nothing wrong, but other people will hear that tone and think something different.
We're butting heads for no reason. And instead of saying, this is what it means to me, what does it mean to you?
Right.
And learning how that person receives and what their language is, because there are subtle differences, even in families. no child has the same experience as the other child because the parents are in different places with each child. So that child has different experiences than the other child. But
I
we
was
tend
talking
to,
about that with a friend yesterday, and I was like, even though a lot of times kids are they're raised in the same family, you think they're raised the same, they're different,
yeah, because
and
the
they
parents have
experience it different.
different stresses, different successes, different, habits. Somebody might be experienced a parent who's drinking at the time their little are born, and then another one will have one when that parent's sober. So they have different perceptions of how that person is, and they learn different morals because the morals change when you're not drinking. So, and the children learn from what they see. They don't learn from what we tell them. So
One
if
of
they
the
see you have no integrity, the kid's not going to have any integrity.
Right. One of the things I've noticed though a lot lately, and I've seen is after kids leave home, and it's been kind of on the social media sites, is they who they hang around, they start questioning everything, and or they've made up stuff, you know. I've had people come to me and talk to me about this, and it's like, you know, they'll come up with something that never actually happened.
It's because they're picking up that other person's energy. When I was young, I had a lot of friends that were sociopaths. I started behaving and acting in accordance with my friend's energy. And one day I was doing something and I had to sit back and say, "What are you doing? This isn't who you are. Why are you doing this?" And I learned that I'm so sensitive that if I hang out with you long enough, I'm going to pick up your energy and your habits. So it forced me to start to look for people with integrity that had habits that I could live with and separate myself from people that had habits that I couldn't, because even in my relationship, my wife I have now, it's solely because of her integrity. For the first time in my life, I woke up next to somebody and I didn't feel shisty. So
And you know, that goes with the where you should surround yourself with at least five people, you know, that you want to be like. And integrity to
and
me is one of the most important things.
it is the most important thing. So if you want to maintain that, then find, that it's true. You associate with people that you want to be like.
Right. Well, and I had never really thought about it. It's like who you surround yourself. They start picking up that, and that's why their stories change, and they start reacting the way they do. So very
Right.
interesting.
Especially if that person has a higher frequency than they do, they're just going to automatically absorb those habits.
Right. So
So,
amazing. You have so much knowledge here. I know.
well, I
For some reason,
recently
I just
started
want to let all our guests know I can't see any of the questions today. So, but put them on there and we'll come back and answer them later. And it might be because it's storming here and it's storming where Emmanuel lives as well. But please do post your questions if you have them. And my next question, though, for you is how can people do, or what do you want to say to the guests that are watching?
well, the most important thing is be happy. Figure out how to play no matter what's going on. Play is one of the most healing things you can do. Like a child, just with abandonment. Let everything go and play and allow your body to relax. It's one of the most healing things you can do. And then, pay attention when you ingest something. How does your body react? Does it lock up? Is it struggling to process it? Or is it feeling vibrant? Little things make a huge difference.
You know,
Um,
when you said that, I I had to throw this in there. Is I thought about the quote, be like that Jesus said to the kids, be like the little children. Because we can't, as adults, we complicate everything and we stop playing and we stop living. You know, it's more like we got to do this, got to do that, instead of just, like you said, having fun, enjoying.
and when you allow a child to be a child, that's what they do. They run, they scream, they let everything go. And when they want something, it shows up because they know it's theirs. There's no question. And then we grow up and everything becomes complicated, and and we squeeze everything into a box, and we shut out so many channels that can bring us things. So the more you can relax and just be present and not worry about things, the easier it is to send out signals to allow yourself to receive. And a lot of us will say we want something, and then the tape will start and the stories on why we can't have it, how difficult it is, why we don't deserve it, whatever it is. And it makes it more difficult to acquire those things. However, when we're running all those negative thoughts, all those negative things come really quick because that's where we're focused on.
Right. One of John Ashraf, one of my mentors, he does the neuropathy. He's about positive thinking, positive visualization, because, have to visualize sometimes, especially if you're in the wrong mindset, visualizing how you're going to achieve the positive side of things.
Have you ever watched people with Down syndrome?
Yes,
Their
I have
lives
a
are
friend's
blessed.
daughter that has Down syndrome.
Their lives are blessed. Everything, all their needs are always taken care of. They're always provided for because they're always happy.
They
There's no
are.
negative thoughts. It's always, I'm taken care of. Life is wonderful. And it is.
Yeah,
We
and
can learn
they'll
a
get
lot from
sad for a
watching those
moment, but
people.
she'll like, oh, I'll pray for you.
Yeah.
Or
And then
just pray for me and I'll be fine.
her life is always magical. Somebody always provides for them.
Yes, you can learn a lot from them, definitely.
Yes. Be happy. So I recently started a Substack, and I've been placing a lot of the writings that I've written for my clients on my Substack. And I just posted one on listening this last week. So there's a lot of good tidbits in there for people to learn from.
So how can they get a hold of you? What is the
My
best way?
my website is divineharmonics.com. That's DEVINEHARMONICS.com. And my Substack is under Reverend Emmanuel Illuminardi at Substack.com.
Okay. Quick question though. Do you play the harmonica?
No, I don't. I studied the accordion, the trumpet, and the bass violin when I was younger. But now all I play is my voice. And I have a SoundCloud where a lot of my recordings, I used to record a lot of my conversations with my clients and post the chants onto the SoundCloud. And I stopped doing it because where I live, I don't have the bandwidth to upload them.
Right. So yeah, I mean, if I didn't have Starlink, I wouldn't be doing this.
Technology is wonderful.
It is, unless the satellite goes out, right?
Yes.
So, but nature is free and it's available, so, and I encourage each and every one of you, if you have questions, please ask. And if you need the Reverend's help, I reach out to him. So he's an amazing person, an amazing soul. And thank you so much for taking the time to be here today. I so appreciate it.
You're very welcome, and thank you for having me, and I truly appreciate you.
So, well, I appreciate you as well. And I appreciate everybody that takes the time to watch. So thank you so much. And I hope you enjoyed the show, and I hope you have an amazing week. Bye for now. Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.